To move forward to our next story, we'd have to go back in time a little to the Cold War, after the Second World War between 1945 and 1991. Now, the world witnessed perhaps the most notorious proxy wars in history. A standoff between the US and the Soviet Union saw no direct bloodshed between the two sides, but plenty between the two lands spanning from Cuba to Korea. Africa wasn't spared either. Now, this brings us to Mozambique. The African nation was one among many grounds for the proxy war between the US and the USSR. During the 15-year conflict between 1977 and 1992, the Soviet Union backed the Mozambican government, and the US backed the insurgents. The end of fighting came with the fall of the Soviet Union. Now, over 3 decades later, another world power is perhaps fueling insurgency in Mozambique. We are talking about China. Now, Mozambique's army is fighting armed groups in the north. Last week, the insurgents launched a major attack on the northern town on Macomia in the gas-rich province of Cabo Delgado. Hundreds of fighters were reportedly involved in the attack. Despite a large security response, there have been an increase in attacks since January of this year. According to reports, illicit trade with China is fueling Mozambique's insurgency. At the center of this illicit trade is timber smuggling. The trade, estimated to be worth $23 million a year from Mozambique's forests to China, is helping fund a brutal Islamist insurgency and a large criminal network in Cabo Delgado. Mozambique's rosewood is protected under an international treaty, but there is a huge demand for it in China, where it is highly prized for luxury furniture. While the Chinese government has made it illegal to log rosewood in their own country, huge quantities continue to be imported. Insurgent-controlled areas of Mozambique have been a breeding ground for illicit trade. Now, this is due to poor management, illegal logging, and corruption. According to reports, the insurgents generate around $1.9 million a month as revenue from smuggling of flora and fauna products. According to Trade Data Monitor, Mozambique was China's top African supplier of rosewood in 2023, providing over 20,000 tons worth $11.7 million. Now, deforestation in Mozambique is continuing at a rapid pace. According to a report by NGO Global Forest Watch, the country is losing the equivalent of around 1,000 football pitches of forest every day. And while the illicit trade network grows, Mozambique's army struggles to fight insurgents in Cabo Delgado, the main conflict zone. The insurgents target civilians, carry out massacres, beheadings, rapes, and kidnappings. And while houses and villages have been bombed and burned, the violence has destabilized Cabo Delgado for almost a decade. It has also triggered one of Africa's most significant displacement crises in the province, with more than 1 million people forced to leave home. This has prompted the Mozambique government to rely on foreign troops to police the province. So, is Mozambique on the brink of another proxy war? Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alyson Grange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. South Africa goes to the polls on the 29th of May. I will track the election and bring you ground reports. Is it the end of the road for the African National Congress? And will former President Jacob Zuma stage a dramatic comeback? From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost.